What's up, guys, and welcome back to Book Up Entertainment. So, today we want to analyze and look at a man who has made it very, very clear, that he wants to become the president of South Africa. And this man is the former Chief Justice, Mogoeng. So, this guy has repeatedly stated that he believes he has a divine calling to become the president of South Africa. So this conviction is rooted in a deeply spiritual worldview where he claims that God has spoken to him about this destiny multiple times. So importantly, he has actually insisted that he will not actively campaign, start a political party, or join an existing one to pursue the presidency. Instead, he has said the path will open supernaturally, a position that sets him apart from all other potential political leaders in the country. Now, that's something really bold there for him to believe, that he's definitely Mogoeng is going to become the president, without a political party, without joining any new one. And I'm wondering and thinking, like, how can you pull off something like that? Because it's clear, you definitely need a political party. But then again, the National Assembly can select, but he believes, that God is going to open the pathway for him. So this guy now, Mogoeng, is facing several institutional and legal hurdles. The biggest is the Judicial Code of Conduct, which prohibits judges, including retired ones, from engaging in party politics. So this regulation in itself, it is meant to protect the impartiality and independence of the judiciary, even after retirement, to maintain public trust in the legal system. Because it gets weird, imagine if a chief justice, then tomorrow he is the president. So that role is there, to maintain public trust. So the logic is that the dignity of the judicial office doesn't end when a judge steps down. Rather, their legacy and moral credibility continue to reflect on the judiciary as a whole. So, with this obstacle, Mogoeng, I'm sure he is very aware of it, and that's why he is always saying that, what, I'm not going to start a party or join any new one or any existing one, because there is this law that is there in place. So how can you overcome this? Mogoeng will have to challenge or reinterpret the judicial conduct, possibly through a constitutional court case or a legal amendment. That in itself will be politically and legally controversial, as it could open the door for future judges, to blur the lines between justice and politics. Alternatively, Parliament could amend the relevant laws to make an exception for retired judges. Yeah, so that one is the one that can work, Maybe it can be amended for someone who is retired instead of someone who is currently serving. But that in itself would even require massive political will and could provoke maybe backlash from civil society and legal professionals, because they'll be questioning and be like, what is this that you're now doing? So a second option for Mogoeng is to start his own political movement or align with an existing party, even though he has stated that I'm not going to do that. But the path and the goal that he wants, he has to do that, like, for example, joining ANC is like the guaranteed one. Once you become the president of the ANC, then you're going to be the president. It's sort of like automatic. But that now would require him to completely abandon his position that God will elevate him without campaigning, because joining a party means working within a democratic structure, forming alliances, facing criticism, and possibly compromising on religious or ideological values, because you are now in politics, you have to make certain decisions. So for someone who has publicly distanced himself from political hustling, this would be a major psychological or philosophical shift. But it's nothing new, people shift left, right, and center. We've been seeing Julius Malema flip flopping, and of late, Julius Malema is no longer a pro immigration like he used to be in the past, because he's realizing, that these issues they are costing him so much. Floyd Shivambu, I've seen him just recently. He has switched his tone in regards to the immigration issue. So this issue of changing what you said in the past, it's kind of normal nowadays. So Mogoeng can even change from that initial statement that he made. So the issue is that how much support does he have, from South Africans? Would they accept him as a former judge, because there would be both admiration, for a man of his character, his integrity, and also maybe some suspicion on the other hand, because others would be admiring Mogoeng's integrity and religious convictions. On the other hand, critics might question whether his past judicial rulings were ever politically motivated, and whether his sense of destiny is compatible with constitutional democracy, which is based on secular law, not divine prophecy. So, from a political standpoint, a run for presidency for Mogoeng, whether through forming a new party or joining an existing one, it demands massive resources. So there's a lot of funding that is needed, grassroots mobilization, media strategy. I'm sure you can even look at the Sierra 17 campaign. You need everybody, to be backing you and supporting you, because without that infrastructure, I think we can conclude that no amount of spiritual belief would be enough to compete with seasoned, political machines that are already campaigning right now, like Fikile Mbalula, Paul Mashatile. They're already making those moves right now, because South African politics is unforgiving to newcomers sometimes, and the public really rewards leaders who believe they are chosen without showing that they are prepared. So those are some of the hurdles. So those hurdles that are there in Mogoeng's path, they exist for a good reason. They are designed to protect democracy from the risks of populism, religious extremism, and institutional capture. Because if retired judges easily moved into party politics, it would erode the very separation of powers that ensures democracy remains accountable. So this is a systematic defense mechanism that is there in place. So in conclusion now, Mogoeng sincerely wants to lead the country, and he must make a choice, either wait passively for divine intervention as he claims he will, or step forward, challenge the system transparently, and engage the democratic process like every other leader. And to do that, he would need to take on the legal, institutional, and political barriers in full view of the public, ready to be questioned and held accountable. And only then can he test whether his divine callings aligns with the people's will. So this is it for Mogoeng. I'll catch you guys on the next one.